Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of SouthSide Notes. And you know, I always am bringing people into my house, and guess who I have today? I have Grammy Award-winning, Chicagoan, always represents Chicago, Che Rhymefest Smith. So I wish I had a clap. Right? Clap.
We'll clap for ourselves.
Right. Che, thank you so much.
Thanks, sis.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm like, look, I'm geeking out on the inside, so I'm trying to contain myself right now. But Che is I'm welcoming Che into my house, and he is open to trying a wine tasting challenge, okay? So you know I'm all about etiquette and lifestyle, and I always want to bring lessons that people think that you're supposed to know, but what I'm trying to do is actually show you these lessons. So when you get in situations, you always know what to do. I always am focused on saying you don't have to follow the rules, but you should always know the rules when you walk into a room. So that's what we're trying to expose you to today. So Che, I'm going to first challenge you. We're going to do a white wine tasting.
Okay.
This is some Sauvignon Blanc, okay?
Wait, say that again.
Sauvignon
Blanc.
Blanc. So white wine.
Sauvignon Blanc.
There you go.
There you go. All right.
Both of these wines are from Napa Valley. So when you read different wine labels, they'll tell you where they are from, okay? And they'll also tell you how old they are. But we're not going to get into all of those details associated with the wine. But what we're going to do is test a high and a low end wine. I almost pointed to which one is which. But Che is going to pick which one is which, okay?
Yeah.
And we're also going to go over the process of opening different wine bottles, which is what I find a lot of people don't do. I actually went out one time and I said to a gentleman at the table, I said, "Can you open the wine?" And he panicked. He was like, "What? Oof."
Yeah, you know why? Because it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, okay.
It's really dangerous. If you're not opening wine, if you don't do it regularly, if you're not a regular wine drinker, you don't know if it's going to pop, if it's going to screw, if it's going to, and if you're in a business setting, right, or you know what I mean? Like, is there a proper way to open wine and not just a party way to open it?
I get it. It's literally a lot of pressure,
it's
right?
Pressure.
So literally.
Yes, literally.
So let's go through some of these, just a couple things real quick. I'm not going to get into too much detail. I don't want to bore you. This is not a wine class, but let's just go through some things right here. So this right here, this is going to cut the label that you have, which a lot of people forget to do. They just start to open the wine, but then pieces of this label gets into the wine, okay? So we're going to cut a nice circle. So it's just a little blade that's in here. Okay. You're going to cut this circle off. Let me see. Let me cut a little bit more.
Okay, I wasn't
see
doing
if
that.
I can do that. Yeah. So then we peel, then we expose the actual cork. All right. So we cut it. Now none of these little foil pieces should get in there. Now, I saw somebody real confused with this one time. So you're just going to put the screw and push down into the cork. You want to try to keep it centered and not angled, because then you can crack the cork. Can you twist it for me, Che?
I sure can. Centered, not angled.
And we're going to go to the arms, go all the way up.
Okay.
Right there.
Right there.
And then we're going to slowly pull up. Popping bottles. Okay, we're popping bottles. Okay. So
usually I'm wiggling it out, you know,
see?
I'm that guy.
That's when you get the cork in there and stuff like that.
And then I'm just like, new bottle.
Right. It's a slow process though, and a lot of people do get nervous when they're doing it. So this is a white wine glass. When you pour wine, there are some tips that I just want to cover real quick. So if there's a gentleman at the table, the gentleman's going to be responsible for pouring the wine sometimes, okay? So you are going to avoid touching glass to glass because we don't want to crack this glass.
Okay.
So let's set this down real quick. There you go. And then you're just going to pour directly, and you're going to pour to the widest portion of the glass.
All right.
You see? Now stop and twist.
And twist.
Twist there. There you go. Perfect.
Why twist?
Because you don't want anything to drip onto the table. So if it was a white tablecloth, my grandmother would get very upset.
Okay.
But if it's a white tablecloth.
And just twisting it, remove.
Yep. So here, if I pour, you see that little drip, and then I twist it, it'll fall right back into the bottle.
Oh, okay.
So these little things,
dope,
right?
Dope.
So the reason we pour it to the widest portion is so that you can get the most oxidation. So oxidation is just oxygen or air hitting the wine, and then it just releases the flavors.
Are there certain should you always have wine in this type of wine glass?
See, I'm real bougie. Okay, look, let me say.
No,
Yeah, I am very specific about my wine glass.
Yeah.
Yes. So a red wine glass is going to be a larger bowl because it needs more room to breathe just based on the makeup of the red wine. So that's a great question. Yeah, I am very particular. I'm going to show you my cabinets at the end so you can see all my wine glasses. You're going to judge me. Okay?
Does this mean, one question, does this mean that if this is giving it enough room to breathe and the red wine glass is a bowl to give it more room, more flavor and impact, does this mean that the wines that we get on the airplane are no good because they give us to them in a bottle?
Yeah, those are what we would call not even table wines. Those are probably like your little, I just want to get real tipsy real quick, but you're not really enjoying the flavor or the savoring the actual wine. That's a great question.
Thank you for letting me
so next time you tell them on the plate, like, what type of wine is this?
I'm like, what kind of glass do you have? That's what I really need.
I love that. That's perfect. So here we have this first glass that we poured. Now I want you to see the difference between these two tops. One, we just did a cork. The other is a twist cup. All right. So the twist, I think we can do that one, right? So there we go. Okay. So this is going to be a nice pour. Now I'm going to challenge Che real quick. Twist.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me which is the most expensive wine. So let's talk about tasting. Now, do I get to do
my sommelier? What is it called? The
sommelier.
Sommelier.
And this is what all they do. This, right?
Now, would these wines have that type of flavor that you could taste something else?
Yes,
and
you'd be able to taste the grape, taste the difference between those different types of things. So, but these are two of the same type.
Okay.
So we're trying to see which one you enjoy the best. You don't have to be able to pick it out correctly. I want you to see which is the best for you. And then that kind of proves the point of you don't have to spend all this money on wine to be able to really enjoy it. Okay. So I'm keeping my hand on this one because I know which bottle it came out of. So this one came out of here and this one came out of here. So when we taste, you are going to put your nose in there because 70% of your taste, go ahead.
Okay.
So 70% of your taste comes from smell, right? So you want to make sure that you smell it. And then you're just going to take a small swig of it. Ooh, you close your eyes and savor
because I'm going to tell you where it takes me.
Okay.
And then we can decide which place is better.
I love it. Okay. Right. So I'm going to get you some water for in between. So that's the first one, the one that you open with the cork. So drink the water to separate once you savor it.
Okay.
Okay. Swish, swish, and then try this second glass. I feel like a little musician. I don't have a poker face, so I'm trying not to look at you.
Okay. Okay. Let me just tell you real quick what's going on here.
Which one do you prefer?
I prefer this one.
Okay.
And it's because they're both pungent.
Okay.
They're both I'm not gonna lie, this is like outside on the west side. Like, this is not like I smelled this growing up on Old Men's Brunch.
Oh, you did?
Like I that was a little to me it was just familiar of like kind of beer.
Okay, I love that. Okay,
you know?
I mean, okay.
I can tell that it's similar because of the kind of pungentness of it.
Same grape.
Yeah, but this is lighter to me.
Okay.
This is more like by the pool.
Oh. Okay.
And this is more like house party.
Ooh, I like
so
that.
So it depends
comparison.
on if you want to be in California by the pool, or in a nighttime Chicago house party.
South side, west side, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Side you want to be on. Yeah. So that's how I see it. Okay.
So let me tell you the correct thing, right?
All right.
You got some high-end tasting, sir. Here is the $40 bottle.
Yeah.
This is the $12 bottle. Okay. Yeah. So let me move this to the side because we're about to drink.
But what do you think? What do you think about that though? In terms of
But what that proves, I think that's what's showing you is the difference. Why? Because I think when I go to Benny's or any type of liquor store, I'm like, why are these prices so different? Yeah. It's a different process of making the wine. They're aged differently. Even though it's coming from the same type of grape, it's still a different process. And that's how you can value your different wine. Wow. And your taste buds preferred the better process as well.
Interesting. All right.
So that's that little etiquette tip for today, right?
Yeah.
Right. So exposing you. Look, I'm gonna pour myself some.
But everyone may not be able to.
No.
No. What does that mean? How? Okay. So the question now becomes, how does one develop their taste buds to a higher process? Because not only wine, but foods.
Exposure.
So when we're talking about healthy foods versus the gyro versus a real piece of meat, right?
Right.
Like I've been to a Brazilian steakhouse in Brazil, and the meat is totally different than what I may get out of Costco or Walmart.
And what they give you.
So how do we develop our taste? Because we may think the higher grade or the better process is distasteful.
Yeah. Because we've already developed to have all of the preservatives, to have all of those different flavors to cheapen the meat. We have grown up with that. So that's what our taste buds are accustomed to. So the key thing, like they say with anything, is exposure, right? So I love when I take young kids to new restaurants and challenge them to try something, because I tell them, nobody can say, I'm not going to try this, or that doesn't taste right. No, you are going to sit here and you're going to expose yourself. Because I think I grew up with the same 4 meals. My mom kept cooking the same type of things over and over, only till I was an adult and challenged myself to go to different places and to be able to try different things. Did I know there were different flavors? There was more flavors than chicken nuggets and fries, those different types of things. So it's kind of doing a detox. We have to train
ourselves the way detox. We have to retrain ourselves. I get it.
And with what they offer to us in certain communities, they don't provide that stuff. They put preservatives and different things in them for the shelf life, and it all comes down to that mighty dollar, right? So that's why we have these preservatives and these different trans fats in things, is so that the shelf life is longer.
So would it be better to, let's say for wine, would it be better to order wine? We can order wine from another country and have it delivered. Yeah. Is it better to order wine from another country than get it from this country?
Well, it's not going to be a different process if it's from another country, because most liquor or high-end liquor stores, should I say liquor stores? Beverage outlets is what they call them, right? Spirits, right? They have it broken down by country. So what's from Australia, what's from France, etc. So it is going to be shipped. It's an export business, definitely.
Okay, great.
So I'm glad we went through that different lesson. So let's get out of all this stuffiness, right? Yeah. My whole goal is to take the stuffiness out of etiquette so everybody feels comfortable around it. I always grew up wanting to be like Claire Huxtable and having people over like, let's try this wine and let's do a dance next to it, those different types of things. So that is my goal associated with that. So you won. You passed the test. I have not tasted this. So.
But the question is there judgment for the one who likes the $12 wine?
No, there's not, right? Because I like a beer every once in a while, and I will order a beer at a restaurant, and I'm comfortable with that.
And instead of having a beer, you can just have that.
Yeah. You see those? Don't talk about it. But look, I try to trick you.
It's more classier.
Because some people assume that the twist top is for a cheaper wine, but nowadays that's not true, right? So for a white wine, you're probably going to have a twist top. For a red wine, you're probably not going to see that as much. But twist top does not equate the value of the wine. Yeah. I tried to trick you.
No, I peeped it.
You peeped it. Okay, so let's get into some conversation. I want to learn more about you.
All right. Well, let's keep drinking.
Okay. Yeah.
So we can both be warm.
Well, I don't want, my true serum. This is my true serum.
So we can both be warm. Yeah.
Salud. Okay, that's the worst etiquette coach, right? Can't remember.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding. So I was telling you when you got here how the documentary about In My Father's House. First, let me ask you how you thought of that concept. What was the goal? Because you started of showing you bought your father's old house, the house that he grew up in. Yeah. So is that what your whole goal was? Did you buy the house and then think, I want to find my father? Or was that something that you grew up with, wanting to find your father?
Well, growing up, I think young people who don't have a co-parent situation twist ourselves into a lot of different knots about, I don't need him or her, I don't, whatever. But they need the answer for this, and they didn't do that. And then we build these imaginary stories. We build these resentments. We don't even know what the story is. We don't even know why. Right. But based on whatever we have around us, we build these conclusions. And so I got to a point in my life where I just wanted to be a better father to my children.
How did you learn how to do that?
I wanted to
Where did that come from?
Facing truth about whatever's happening. And whatever patterns are happening, what it's showing you, like, and walking through, you're like, okay, let's do it one pattern at a time. And so, you know, I know that there was a disconnect with me with just feeling incomplete. Grown men with children and families that are not complete men. I was that. You know what I'm saying? Even with success and money and success means nothing. So my mother used to drive me past the house and point, your dad grew up there, your dad grew up there. And I used to think, I'm going to buy that house out of spite.
Right. Oh, out of spite?
So it started with, I'm going to buy that house to prove that I'm better, that I grew up and I'm successful and I made it, I got your house and yo, it's mine now, it's my inheritance.
Bogus.
I'm taking my inheritance. Because a lot of men thinks that's what make us men, to like, shows of power. You know what I'm saying? Shows of control through ownership.
That's what society has created too.
We've created that, right? And especially when you think about melanated men in this country who so often are powerless in so many of our intimate relationships. You know?
They didn't want us to have those intimate relationships because they saw that connection that we had.
And we try to take back those relationships the same way they were taken from us.
That's powerful.
And that doesn't work. You know what I'm saying?
It's a constant tug of war.
It's a constant tug of war using the enemy strategy.
Right.
And so like, you know,
write that strategy down.
Don't let them teach you how to be.
Right.
And we have to unprogram from a lot of that.
Right.
So, you know, I got the house, and when I got in it, you know, my wife at the time, none of us were comfortable. Well, she was comfortable. I wasn't.
You felt it.
I felt it. The ghosts in the walls, the emptiness, the what is this,
spirits are real.
All of this. And my wife at the time, Donnie, she said, go look for him. Go find your father. Let him come bless the house. And I'm like, yeah.
That never crossed your mind when you were moving into the house?
No.
When you didn't feel right, that never crossed your mind?
No.
Wow.
But it took my companion.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's what a companion should do. Like,
I'm saying wow because it's amazing how we block things out.
Yeah.
Block those.
Because I thought, why didn't I win? You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't feel like I
still don't feel right. Yeah.
So she said you should go find her because she noticed the connector and everything was me talking about with my dad and so if you want to find your parent and you don't know where they are, always start with the other parent. Yeah. They got a little Google Maps on them at all times.
But we don't think about our parents before we were born, right? Yeah, I think like,
this is true.
Right, they had a life before me, right?
We don't think of them as humans.
No.
And that's the problem.
And that's an issue. And that's what you helped me out with.
That's the problem.
I'm going to let you finish your story.
No, right. Yeah. So, you know, I went and my mom helped me. She found his brother on Facebook, talked to the brother. The brother was like, I don't know where he is, but there's a family friend on the west side. I went to the family friend. The family friend said, yeah, he's not doing too well. He's homeless. He's this, he's that. I'll go to the park where he's at in the daytime and I'll let him know you're looking for him. Okay. And then my dad and I agreed to meet in the library because that's one of the places he could have dignity.
Yeah.
You know, it was a business setting. It was books. It was. Right. I appreciated that, and that let me know kind of
his mindset.
And in that we were similar.
Yeah, that's what I say. Do you see yourself in him now that you guys have built that relationship?
You know, I love my father. Yeah. My father, and I couldn't say that in the beginning of the journey.
You could?
Because I didn't know him.
Could you love somebody you don't know?
I was thinking love is a word that people use. Like, how could he say he loves me? He didn't raise me. Yeah. He didn't see me grow. Love is when you see something develop, right? That's what I thought. It's not true.
Yeah. Because I loved my child as soon as she was born.
Yeah.
Somebody I never knew, right?
But I also think the way men process love, I think we struggle with acceptance. of true love, loving the unknown, loving something without condition. I think men struggle with that.
And if you never learned how to do that too, I think that's a different, because I think a lot of women have been the role of caregiver and the lover in the relationship with respect to the mother's supposed to take care of the kids, show the kids love, while the father's kind of the hard disciplinary, all those different things. So it's kind of hard to learn something that you, or know how to do something that you never learned the process to work through. Is
there a such thing as, okay, there's love that we learn, and then is there a love that is just innate?
The agape love. I think so. That's what I said. Like when my daughter was born, I loved her and I knew nothing about her, right? And I still, even when she makes me angry, I still love her no matter what. And I don't know what type of love you would call it, because I know there's different versions of love, right? Yeah. But that is a love that I don't think that will ever leave me.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we say love in all of its forms. Yeah,
the agape.
So yeah, I bought the house and I got in there and I found my father, and when he came, it was something where I originally videoed it because I wanted to have it for my children. There's a lot between, my children that I pray that as they grow older, they can forgive and understand. And I began to start thinking my forgiveness of my father can be the example of what I would like my children to be.
Are you fearful of the day when your children realize that you are just a man, in a sense?
I look forward to that day. Okay. So for me, like, I get it. It's great to look at your parent as a hero, but once we can see each other without judgment,
right,
because any label comes with a judgment.
Yep.
And so once my children can see me without judgment, then they can see the true love.
And that's what your documentary, why it was so touching to me, because we're coming up on my father's anniversary, 3 years of when he passed. And your documentary actually allowed me to have real conversation with my dad before he died.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so I don't want to say stereotypical, but my dad has lots of kids, right? So just having that understanding of, do you love me? Do you love them? How did you show love when you had many kids, with many different women, those different types of things? How do you really love me? So we had that type of conversation. I told him the effect of different things that he did. I don't want to get too specific, but different things that he did growing up. I kind of was like, when you did this is how I felt. When you did this, and my dad listened. Like he didn't interrupt me one time, and he just listened, and that allowed us, I think, to have. After that, we was chilling. Like we would have conversations like this, like, "What's up? What's going on now?" It just removed that wall and that barrier that we had, because I think we had that relationship of, I'm supposed to respect my father. You never ask them any personal questions. That old stereotypical role. But that broke that down.
But and then regular breathing can take place in a relationship, like reciprocation, inhaling and exhaling. It's kind of like, that's kind of amazing that a parent just listening can free up the rest of the relationship.
One conversation.
Should he have come to you about it, or should you have come to him sooner, or did it happen right on time?
No, that's what I was upset about, that he is the adult, he is the parent, he should have come to me.
I said that to my father once, like, why you didn't come look for me? And then I realized he just wasn't in a position.
Yep.
I mean,
he didn't know how to. Yep. Look how simple that was, right? You're like, oh. Yeah. Because now that I'm like my father's age, when I started to, when I was younger, and the things that I do, I'm like, oh, my parents was probably doing the same type of stuff and feeling the same type of way and having the same struggles.
And the same kind of insecurity. And the same kind of everything. Yeah. And it's really amazing that parents are able to put roofs over heads.
But that's how they showed their love. They didn't, I don't think a lot of black parents, I don't want to generalize, excuse me for that, but I think a lot of black parents felt that love was keeping a roof over your head and making sure you had everything.
Now go play.
You didn't have to go hug. Yeah, let me go do this. Well, yeah, so
play.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that I got the chance, because I was like, if I ever meet him, I was like, I just wanted to make sure that you knew the impact of that documentary.
Man, that's love.
Like it was sad. I was crying in the room.
And it's interesting because what I learned from that were so many lessons, but one was even about what we talk about opportunity. How did something get to you? It was like I told a friend, hey, I'm doing this thing where I'm filming my father, and he said, oh, that's amazing. I know some documentarians. And then he hooked me up with them, and then they said, we'll help you finish it and create the infrastructure for how to do this. And, and from that, Emilio Estevez, his family, father and brother and mother, saw the documentary.
Right.
And then said, we want you to be in the film about homelessness.
Tell me about the public. Yeah, I was so excited when I saw you in that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about it. But, I just learned that everything we do to release ourselves from one of our programs leads to another piece of our success.
So we're our own hindrance? Mm-hmm.
We're in our own way all the time.
All the time. Mm-hmm.
And every move you make to get out of your way will be your success.
But
automatically,
I think fear of judgment, fear of failure, those are some of the things that come into play with that.
Yeah, fear.
Like, I don't want to tell you what I'm thinking. You may think this is out of you know.
Fear.
Yeah.
Or it may not get us the validation that we're seeking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, comparison is the killer of creativity, and like chasing validation is the killer of self, and you know what I mean? Like all of that type of stuff. And so what I've learned was just take everything that I've done over the period of my teenage to adult years to be in my own way and remove it one by one by one.
Acknowledging that, though, that's the powerful thing. I think a lot of people are afraid to acknowledge that.
How do you feel like one acknowledges?
How
does that happen?
When cyclic behavior happens, like, why do I keep ending up in this same boat? You have to go back to the source.
I was talking to some of my friends this morning, and we were talking about how do you recognize when you made a mistake? Sometimes, like, I've made mistakes and have been like, no, but I like it. Like when the mistake that you made is in a way of what you like to do.
Yeah.
Or what you like to do is the mistake.
Right.
But you like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stop liking?
And I'm not hurting nobody, but you're really hurting yourself. Yeah.
But you're hurting yourself. And that creates all of that stuff.
Yeah. And just builds and builds.
Yeah. And so what I've started doing is just saying, hey, is this a good outcome or not a good outcome? Does this make me feel good or not feel good? How do I get out of programmatic behavior? I just made this song called, I just wrote a song this morning called Awkward in the Club, where I was just like, yo, I'm just awkward in the club.
You've always been awkward in the club?
Always been awkward in the club, and was afraid to admit it because I'm a rapper.
But everybody...
And the program of hip-hop is the club.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
This is where they play your music.
That's where you're supposed to, all the fun stuff, you meet your... But that's not what it is for me. Every time I walk in the club, I'm like, how do I stand? What do I do? Like, how do I can't get the attention. Oh, wait, I want to talk to this girl, but I talk too deep, like, and she can't hear me.
Then you
like,
yell it.
And I'm like, wait, this is weird and shit. Like so, it's like... So for me to admit it in song really freed me up.
Do you think,
regardless of what people think,
does this era of hip hop allow more freedom of expression than maybe 10 years ago?
The era doesn't, the culture does.
Culture does, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the
hip hop created a culture.
Hip hop, the culture makes room for diversity. But the era is the era of, do it sound like this or this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody wants to categorize everything and compare other artists to other artists.
And that is created by the corporations.
Yes.
That are promoting whatever the message is that is being promoted.
So what do you feel about independent
artists?
Like
for the last 30 years, I've been hearing some of the same themes in hip hop.
Same story. I mean, not even stories.
40 years, 30 years.
Same,
you know what I'm
repetitive thing. We can't.
Same
I can't go down that road though.
So no, but in saying that, I'm saying that is manufactured.
Yep.
And like, so for me, you know, a lot of young artists don't see. They just like, yo, I gotta fit into this to get the validation, to get, and then I'll be free. And that's not how freedom works.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what they tell me to do
until I get the money.
But you've already created that persona as an artist, and that's what people want.
There's somebody right now sitting in jail in another country.
Yes. For what's his label doing?
Nothing.
Right.
Because if certain people like you too much, there's a problem. There's something wrong.
Well, we experience that at all levels.
But we don't recognize it because we believe that the success is in the material success.
And that's your validation.
And that's your validation.
Going back to that validation.
Yeah. And so for me, I found that success is in freeing yourself. One program at a time.
Well, where do you think
and the culture has enough room for that.
But you've always had, do you think that you were part of the system initially when your first album came out? Or do you think that you've always been I feel like you've always been free.
No, but I've always questioned it.
Okay.
I've always questioned myself about it. And that was my Achilles heel. So that was, so
people don't like that.
So even if let's say you're like, I got to do something genuine. And then you feel insecure about your authenticity.
Yep.
That will hold you back.
That's
just as bad as being inauthentic.
And the arrogance associated with that. Wow.
Just as bad.
You alluded to the public. I need to talk about the public because it's out right now on DVD, right? That was DVD.
It is out. Yeah.
Is it streaming?
Blu-ray,
I feel real old. It's on VHS.
It's out. It ain't in the theaters no more. It's out.
Okay. So tell me about that process, because I know I watched other interviews and you were kind of channeling your father's experience through that, right?
So because the film is about homeless people like occupying and overtaking a public institution, saying, look, this is ours. I don't know how it's theirs though, really, and they didn't pay the taxes. Like I believe it belongs to the people who pay taxes, but not just people. Right. But we felt that way in the film, and we took back a public institution, and I could talk about the acting portion because I never acted before. That was my
I want
first
to talk
time.
about that because what do you define an artist? Because you have done many different avenues now, even from fighting for the city that you live in, right? So running for office, those different types of things. Do you think that's the artistry in you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Define what you think an artist is.
Creativity and authenticity.
Authenticity.
When when authenticity and creativity combine, that's its artistry. Artistry is poetry. Poetry is God. Poetry is the way things are designed, even if it's in chaos. Poetry is the way we live. Poetry is, I didn't know that was going to happen today. Right. You know what I mean? Now I got to move through it. That's poetic. You know what I mean? So, to me, I am living as an artist. Okay. And as an artist, you can recreate communities. As an artist, you can create a show. You can taste wine and you can see, I'm in California by the pool.
Right.
I'm in a house party. Like, artistry is really embodying the poetry of God.
Right. I appreciate
kind of like that.
I appreciate that. How did you translate that
You're
to
a
acting?
Poet. You're an artist.
Oh.
You are an artist. Look at what you do with wine. Look at how you put it together. Look at what you like. You look at the colors. I can't stop looking at the garden with the. Did you design that?
Yes, everybody sees that. Yeah.
Yo,
I gotta accept that. I'll accept it.
You're wearing 2 globes on your
thank
ears.
you.
You already know what's up.
I respect that.
But sometimes when we are scientists and professors, we think that is different from artistry, and I don't believe that. The mathematician and the poet is the same. It comes to the same conclusion.
But I never fit in the scientific community because of my creative perspective.
That's artistry.
So yeah, I get it. How did you channel that into acting though? This is your first acting experience, right?
you become it.
Okay.
Like, because
you immerse yourself.
You immerse yourself, and you know, I read the character, and so my character is Big George, and I'm like, I go off script. Well, he's from Montana. What's a black guy from Montana like? Wonder who his parents were. How did he end up in Cincinnati? Wow, this guy. And I start creating his life. And so when the words, it's like, I can see how he would say this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You got that
Boom,
connection.
Big George.
So do you want to do more acting? Because I know you just finished, you're finishing an album soon.
And I always feel like, when I go home, I always feel like I've answered it wrong. But in the time that people ask me what you just asked me, I have to keep saying, I'm down for whatever comes.
Right.
I don't, you know, I started doing auditions. I went to LA, moved there for a little while. I started doing auditions. And I was just like, who are you to judge me and say that I'm not killing this?
Yeah.
Like wait a minute. What am I doing? I'm chasing something now. And the minute, and I really sincerely believe, sis, the minute we begin chasing anything, we've lost.
Right.
So how can I say, yeah, I'm going to pursue acting? I already know what that is.
But this came to you organically too. So you didn't chase this opportunity.
Everything will come.
Right. So having that patience and I guess faith in a sense?
Well, being proactive. Not just having patience and faith, because we can wait on God all day and it'll never come.
Stay ready.
So it's like, yo, I went to find my father because it was what I was supposed to do. I filmed it for my children because it was the right thing. Oh, wow, opportunity? Yeah, we're going to take this because I want to really embody, I like this character, I'm going to embody it. Man, I really need to come out with some music right now. I really love traveling the world with Jack. One thing is this life.
It becomes so organic.
And it's, I guess someone could say too, boy, you're blessed that you could do that. But do you believe anyone can live like that?
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that that's in everybody?
Do you believe you can do it?
Yeah.
You're doing it.
That's that confidence that
There it is there. That's the
But
answer.
even when you brought it, you tried to say, I don't know. I guess that's that humble, that humility that they try to teach us and things like that. So it's hard to stand and say, you're right.
I think vanity is when you're when you know you're not telling the truth about yourself.
Oh.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of
is this a therapy session?
No, it's kind of like I just I'll be watching Instagram and I know I'm beautiful. I'm a queen. It's like, come on.
That's a little too much.
Well, I can tell you don't believe what you're saying because you're not embodying it. And so I think what we're talking about more so than professing it is how do we embody manifestation? Did
you take that and put it into your new album that's coming out?
I'm putting it, so the new album I got coming out is called The Griot. And, it's storytelling because I believe in Chicago, historically, we are the best storytellers.
Okay.
Curtis Mayfield is from Chicago.
Yes.
Sam Cooke is from Chicago. Kanye West. Quincy Jones. We are the best storytellers.
Right.
Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If there was no Chicago, you wouldn't have Farrakhan. I mean, these are Barack Obama storytellers. And that's what kind of changes the world. And so I want to embody the stories of not only my experience, but the city into and my exploits around the world into music.
And I don't want to sound like an old head, but that's what I miss in hip hop. Because I can listen to the hip hop that I grew up on, and you can actually envision the story that the rapper was saying, right?
Yeah,
I miss
Slick Rick. Will Smith really doesn't get his props for being one of the best storytellers in hip hop, period, in the world.
We sing the story that he says at the beginning of his show all the time, and we know what's going on.
That's one of the biggest, most played songs in the world, and we don't call him one of the GOATs. And he really deserves it.
I think he does.
But what Will Smith didn't do, and this goes back into the programming, hip hop also gave us a lot of bad tradition.
Yeah.
And Will Smith was fighting against the bad tradition in the way he embodied how he brought it across. For him, it was success. For us, it was success too. But we didn't recognize it.
And I think because not a lot of people were associated with Will Smith. Jazzy Jeff was. You did an album. You did a lot of collaboration with him.
Yeah.
But I don't see him collaborating with a lot of artists. So I think that's where that kind of connection, he kind of created his own world.
And he was a separate entity.
Yeah.
But wasn't Slick Rick?
But we honor Slick Rick as one of the innovators because he was so
Yeah, he
new.
also made Treat Her Like a Prostitute.
Okay.
And like, and Will Smith never made one of those.
I'm trying to think of the
He
worst
also
Will
made
Smith
Lick the
song.
Balls. He also made, like, I could go through it. You know what I mean? But he made Teenage Love.
Teenage Love, right.
And he made Hey Young World.
Don't
You know what I'm
hurt
saying?
me again.
Yeah,
Right.
we looked to those things. You know what I'm saying? We looked at NWA. They created some bad tradition.
Well, I mean, look, I understood what was going on during that time. I tried to justify my era of hip hop.
I mean, but what I will say is
get
this:
that.
the same way we like NWA, we like Too Short, we like Luke. We also love Biz Markie, Brand Nubians, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie. The thing that we had was a diversity and balance, and I think in the kind of artists now, what I think young people face is it's the same type of flavor. If that's what box you're in.
Yeah.
Even if it's conscious music, it's like, oh, I just listen to this. Oh, I just listen to that.
But I think they
We listen to
say
all
they
of
listen
it.
to stuff, but I think they do that because that's part of their formula.
What do you
I don't
mean?
think a lot of rappers are genuine about the people that they say that they listen to because their music doesn't reflect that. Even the modern, I think they just go to the top 3 that quote unquote people
Yeah.
say are the best. They just say that.
Yeah, you
But
don't
if
think
ask
that
them
they
to
do.
ask them
see
what
it.
their lyrics are.
But the thing is too, that's where we come in.
Okay.
Education
Our
is needed.
responsibility. Okay.
Education is needed. And education, the way to do it first is through love and patience.
So speaking of your love and patience, the whole purpose of my show is to dispel the myths of Chicago's South Side, West Side communities. And I know that you have loved your community. So tell me what the South Side means to you or what Chicago means to you.
Well, Chicago for me is, if New York is the money capital of the world, California is where all the innovations are happening. You're going to know California is where it happens first. You know, Chicago is the consciousness of the country.
I respect that.
We are
Why
the
are we getting
consciousness of
such the
country.
bad rap, though?
And let me, you know what's interesting about Chicago? I can tell you exactly what the next 4 years of Donald Trump will be like. Because in Chicago,
You think he's going to get reelected?
whether it does or doesn't.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If he does,
We can't go off in that
if
road.
he does, I know what it's going to be like because the last 50 years of Chicago was under a daily.
Yeah,
I
this
know
is
what it's like
cyclic.
to live under a regime. I know what it's like when government breaks down. I know what it's. I know how to live through it. I know how to fight. Chicago is like the underbelly of what's wrong in Mississippi, what's wrong in Alabama, what's wrong with government politics. But Chicago is also the hope of the future. Because when we see what comes out of people from these communities, how we get through red light parking tickets, how we still have our house picnic, how we still get together and party and we fix ourselves, our families, our communities, it's a sign of how to fix the country.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That, yeah.
As we improve, so does the world.
What did you, when you ran for office, tell me some of your goals that you wanted to accomplish and you still are doing that without having that position?
Well, you know, my platform when I ran for office was basically how to build a village. You know, what's in your walkable village? If you're in a village, we need good foods. We need healthy food. So that means like Save a Lot. It can't be where we shop.
And the only grocery store
the only
for 10
grocery
miles.
store in the
Yeah.
neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So we need healthy foods. You know, I ran in Washington Park, 20th Ward. And Washington Park is one of the biggest parks in the city, in the state.
Yes.
Wildlife is there, turtles and rare birds. We should be activated. Well, look, I'm running for office. I was like, you know, that park could have, I saw it as an economic hub.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Young people could be starting businesses out of the park and they could be doing paddle boat rides in the park and things that automatically ease tensions in the community and create economics. Well, that's what You know, when we started to create Donda's House and Art of Culture and show young people, you could build your own festival in your own community. And we got with Common and we did the I-Fest and all the Chicago rappers was there. It was just a great day. The infrastructure was built by young people, you know, from these from the community. And so I believe that village can be built whether you're in or out of office. And in fact, we start a lot of times from the politicians when we should start from ourselves.
Because we know the structure. We built structures.
And
we built democracy.
And when you do that, you run the politicians. Politicians are, I mean, I learned a lot about politics. I learned that politicians kill poets.
They don't want that. But I think politicians are ego-driven. I mean, that's what they want. If somebody's going to take their shine, they don't want that. And especially if you don't do it the way that they did it. They don't understand how you're coming up.
I was a threat.
Yeah.
And because I came with money. And I could like afford to pay connections. And I could, you know, and so I was kind of a threat, not to my opponent, but to the way things were being done in the community. But that's what the community needs. Threats. Because when someone comes and it's like, wait, we're looking, it starts to make the system say, okay, it's because of the Black Panthers that we now have free school lunch.
Yes. But people don't.
But someone had to do it.
That bothers me. How people give this negative. Well, they choose to put that negative connotation on what the Black Panthers did. They don't even know the tenets that the Black Panthers actually instilled into many communities.
It's because people, you know, and it's also because of when we talk about media, like how Chicago viewed, how our movements viewed. People are attracted to the guns and the leather jackets and the physical threat.
Right.
But the threat that they posed was being a solid village, a community together.
And they saw that power.
Food, free food, education.
Right.
That was the threat.
Right. But we know it's so frustrating because we know what it is. But we still won't come together and work together.
But that's because we're not all the same.
That's true.
You
we're
know
all
what I mean?
Different tribes.
All skin folk ain't kin folk.
Oh, Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and I think some of the problem we have is believing as Black people that Black people are monolithic and should be.
No, yeah, but that's what they put on us, and that's how we have these stereotypes that are perpetuating.
Because color was taught to us.
Yeah.
There was no black and white before we got here.
Definitely.
And we're fighting from underneath that.
In biology, there's no definition for race. Like it's all a social structure. Oof, we were taught that. And so for me, I like to say melanated people because as long as we're like black, white, we're operating from under the definition of and you can't win anything that way. Right.
At least what we're talking about.
So with the griot, first you didn't say when the griot comes out. When is that coming out?
It's going to come out this winter.
This winter.
I don't want to give an exact date because if it doesn't come out in that month,
you said it.
But it's gonna come out this winter, and I got a lot of like cool friends on it: Fonte, Black Thought, Raheem Devon, Jeff's gonna be on there scratching. A lot of other cool people, cool producers. It's real dope. You're gonna love it.
I'm trying to contain my excitement. I'm trying to act cool real quick.
Me and Thought did like 4 joints. It's really dope.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
oh, did you?
Yeah,
you and Black Thought did a few.
Yeah.
One of the best lyricists in the.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was a proud moment for me just to even be. We on par with each other.
And I was gonna say, how did that feel?
Like,
were you in the
really
studio
dope.
Together, or did you,
Yeah, we were in the studio together. We recorded some songs in California.
Okay.
So it was dope. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very happy with it.
All right. I can't wait till that.
But I wanted to bring it home and finish it in Chicago.
Okay.
Because I needed like this vibe to wrap it up.
There's studios around here because I remember from the I keep going back to the documentary. There's studios right in this neighborhood that a lot of people don't even know about.
Key.
Right, low key. Yep, definitely. I was looking. I know where that is. You know. So tell me what you see. We're going to close out with where do you want Chicago to be in the next 5 years?
I love the direction that the city is going in now. I'm so happy and proud that we elected Mayor Lightfoot. I think she's come in and start making like some really great changes. I would like to see more Black men in the city government, you know what I mean, and high positions in city government than there are currently. But what I would really like to see are better schools being built. in each community. People move to community for schools. Schools should be teaching arts and music and education with STEM. So it's not just STEM, it's STEAM. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I believe I want to see the University of Chicago accept more African Americans from the community that they're in.
Yes.
Because
that they're buying and taking over.
It's one thing to have a trauma center to help people when they get hurt. It's another thing to educate people to be able to take care of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So I got specific things. You know, I'm working with the city and DKs on the Year in Chicago Music, and we're talking about how to redevelop Chicago as a music center of the world. I mean, when you think about we're the home of the blues, we're the house of house music, the consciousness of hip hop, the roots of gospel, all come from Chicago. Yet we don't have a bust or a statue. Nat King Cole is from Chicago.
Right.
There's no statues of none of these people around. Young people don't even know where
the plaques are so little.
Shaka Khan and Rufus
Dizzy Gillespie
is from
lived
Chicago.
up the street. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I would like to see
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
As we talk about this being a tourist city, there needs to be more recognition, acknowledgement of the suns and the stars that shine from here.
Right.
That's how we're gonna make this city better.
Okay.
So better education. I want to see more people, more Black Chicagoans being accepted to the University of Chicago.
Okay.
Because they're in the neighborhood.
We're gonna write these. These are going to be at the bottom.
They're in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I would like to see more acknowledgement, recognition, a bigger spotlight put on the history of music and Chicago to be a music city.
Yeah. And understand and just give that respect. But are people coming back? Have they been coming back to let people know?
Well, Curtis Mayfield is dead.
Yeah, well.
And that can
I know Quincy can't travel.
Yeah, so it's up to us though.
Yeah, okay.
It's up to us. You know what I mean? The more we recognize them and fight for them, the more the energy will come.
Okay. Well, I'm going to hold you to that. And I need you to pull me in with that.
Keep doing it.
That's the whole goal.
You to do it. Yeah.
So you guys, that's the perfect ending to what the goal of SouthSide Notes is. We are trying to bring light to Chicago's South Side and West Side communities. We'll give some respect to them. But we're trying to let everybody know that the media does not dictate how people see Chicago, particularly our South Side communities. So I want you to see the people that represent Chicago, and I want you to know that Chicago is a beautiful place to live. And of course, you can learn etiquette tips along the way. So we're going to close out with a salute.
Salute.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Good job.
Do your wine dance. Do your wine dance. Get your wine dance. Hey.